Good evening, everybody, everywhere. I'm Tom Snyder, and you have found the radio show now for Thursday night. It's the 25th of January, 1990. As always, we are satellite delivered from Hollywood to your house, from the ABC Radio and Television Center in Los Angeles, California. Betty Davis once visited the ABC Radio and Television Center. That's right, she said, what a dump. David Letterman celebrates his 8th year with a special 90-minute anniversary broadcast that'll air on the NBC television network on February 1st. That's a week from tonight at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central Time. Why do I mention this? Because my guest in this hour tonight is David Letterman of the late night program over on NBC. We all know that Dave is from Indianapolis, that he majored in radio and TV at Ball State, that he got his first summer job as a replacement announcer at a TV station in town. Following graduation, he got a full-time job in Indianapolis, and the rest, ladies and gentlemen, is history. From Indianapolis to New York and Los Angeles as the star of Late Night with David Letterman. How it all came to be on the radio show for Thursday night. The reason I chuckle is Letterman is sitting in what we call the green room here. And I've done this 100 times when you hear people talking about you and where you went to school and where you worked and everything. And if you're the person being talked about, as Dave is in this case, you say, geez, I hope he doesn't read this whole stupid biography, including the part where it says, and you wonder who writes this stuff. He came to L.A. and worked up a comedy routine. I mean, you work up a sweat, you work, never mind, but you don't work up a comedy routine. You write one or you develop one. It's amazing the people who write about famous people in terms of their promotional copy. It's a wonder that they're allowed to survive, because they do the great stars of television and broadcast and movies a great disservice when they write such things as he worked up a comedy routine. I was watching Arsenio Hall last night. Incidentally, before I go into that, thanks again to Bill Griffith of Financial News Network, who was here last night on very short notice. We've got a flu going around. If you watch late night television, you know that Carson had it for a while. This whole staff here has had it. A lot of people that you know and I know have come down with the flu or the California crud or whatever you want to call it. And you can hear it in my chest a little bit, I think. But I'm okay tonight. I mean, I wouldn't miss Dave for anything, because I have the feeling. It took us 2 years to get Letterman in here. And, I mean, if this is it for 2 more years, I don't want to miss it, you know. He may have something he wants to tell me. I doubt it, but he may have. Anyway, thanks to Bill Griffith of FNN for being here last night on very short notice. A welcome to KIKO in Globe, Arizona, 8 to 11 p.m. Mountain Time, KAGO in Klamath Falls, Oregon, 7 to 10 Pacific Time, WPTX in Maryland, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., I had it right the first time, Eastern Time. These 3 stations joining our lineup this week as we now approach 1,000 stations across North America. As I say, it's it's a long approach, but we're somewhere between 200 and there. So call me Pisher, you know. But anyway, welcome to KIKO, KAGO, Get Me a Home, and WPTX, who join our affiliate lineup this week. Now, last night, I'm watching Arsenio Hall on satellite when they feed it out of here. It's early in the evening Pacific time, but for the folks back east, it's probably 11 o'clock at night. And he is talking with somebody. And he says, oh, by the way, he says, I'll be going over to CBS very soon now. And the guest kind of looked at him and the audience laughed. So now I couldn't figure it out, but I thought he's making a reference to, maybe he's going to be a guest on somebody's show. It never dawned on me where he's going with this. So now I turn on the news, and CBS announced yesterday that Pat Sajak is going to have a guest host on the Pat Sajak Show on Friday night. You know that, hey, Pat's our guy. We love Pat. We're behind this guy 1,000%. The Pat will be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But on Friday night, we'll have somebody else hosting the Pat Sajak Show. And they asked the drone at CBS why, and the drone said, well, because we want to look at new talent. Hey, Pat, do you hear a clock ticking somewhere off in the distance? Pat, do you hear the wind beginning to whistle through the empty offices of your CBS production headquarters? Hey, Pat, Do you hear the helicopters getting closer and closer and closer? Wappa, 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 wappa. Do you hear the machetes pad off in the distance as they come through the rushes heading for your town, CBS, Television City? Pat, don't give up your day job. Back with David Letterman, and eventually some of you on the toll-free exchange after these messages. We're coming right. We are back with David Letterman, who is the star of Late Night on the NBC.
Morning when he gets up on his way to the dining room. By the way, Tom, I enjoyed that stirring, moving tribute to Pat Sajak, that lovely little memorial you did for him. Oh, man.
We don't mince any words here, you know.
I guess not.
I'll tell you, I was doing TV in L.A. when I left New York, and there was a whole week where they had all kinds of stuff on Good Morning America, but the only person who wasn't there was David Hartman.
Right.
So I had somebody call up the ABC press department in New York and say, why wasn't David Hartman on the big salute to whatever it was on Good Morning America? And they give you some, you know how it is, Dave, they give you the gobbledygook, and I went on the air and I said, hey, Dave, do you hear a clock ticking? And 3 weeks later, David Hartman was in, Scarsdale, New York.
On assignment.
Right.
Getting ready to do some of those primetime specials. 1 or 2 a decade. But you know, Tom, you're thinking of the old networks. Things have changed. People are much friendlier now. And more honest. There's more integrity in television these days. Yeah, that's the old days, Tom.
Tell me about the new days, Dave.
Oh, what do you want to know? What
What is it like after 8 years? You know, you and I share the experience of that late night time period, and I have...
By the way, let me just point out here, and then I won't bring this up again because it will probably embarrass you, and that certainly isn't my mission here. But for my money, you're the person that made that time slot successful and viable, and the reason that people are developing late-night vehicles all up and down the UHF, the VHF.
The smoke in this room is unbelievable. He's blowing smoke. It's everywhere in this room.
But it's true.
No, it ain't true. But anyway, how is it now different for you? Anyway,
it ain't true, he says.
What am I going to say? I thank you for that. That's very kind. Better you should say it on television than say it here.
I'll say it anywhere it needs to be said, by God. I'm prepared to say it all day and all night.
How is it different after 8 years in that time period, and with your staff and your producers and your writers that have been with you now from when you went on with all the nervousness attendant to that, and now you have a hit on your hands? How has your life changed, and how is the perception of it different for you?
Well, let's see. I don't think my life has changed all that much. It's still a struggle. I mean, it is.
Television. That's what the lady on the turnpike said. Yeah,
it's still a struggle, and it's not any easier. You would think that after 8 years of doing something, maybe it would get easier, maybe you would learn things, maybe you would find valuable pieces to the puzzle, but you don't really. Every day, it's like filling up a runaway truck. The tape rolls at 5:30, whether the truck is filled or not. And that's it. It's just not any easier. The one thing that I have kind of gotten accustomed to in the beginning, we do our show nightly in front of 200 people in a studio, 6A in the middle of Manhattan. And for the first 4 or 5 years, we had no sense that we were doing a show that went anywhere besides that room.
Right.
You just didn't have the feedback. I mean, we were, in those days, and now even to a certain extent, New York was the outpost of show business. And, you didn't know that anybody was watching, anybody cared. And so that has kind of lifted now. And when people started watching the show, then there was a real pressure, which kind of was, oh my God, they're watching. Now what the hell are we going to do? You know, because we had all our really good ideas when nobody was watching. So
was that the morning show?
No, I wish it had been the morning show. No, I'm talking about this one.
Oh, no, because many people believe, and I'm one of them, that the really seed, the seminal material for the late night show...
Hang on a second here, Tom.
Yeah, I can't believe Letterman's in here. Does your audience know this?
Well, it's for the new year. I thought I had some free time, and I thought, well, why not take up smoking? So... when my mom retired...
Dave Letterman with butts.
Yeah. Anyway, what was the question?
No, the observation was that to a lot of us, myself included, because I worked in New York when you were on in the morning.
That's right.
That a lot of the seed work for late night was in the morning. You did some very inventive stuff around 30 Rockefeller Center when you were on in the morning.
That's right. And maybe even in some way of looking at it, better things than we were to do later because we didn't know any different. In the first 2 weeks we were on the air without a producer, the producer that we had hired to do the show. We parted ways, I think, the day before the show went on the air. And we had 90 minutes of live television to do, and we didn't really know anything about putting together a show. So it was...
Who was the producer that was?
The producer that left us was Bob Stewart, who had produced game shows, and a man I had a lot of respect for, and a man I had kind of an affinity... I liked what he was. He was no nonsense, let's just get in there and do it, by God, and to hell with the network and this and so on and so forth. But he was not accustomed to doing this kind of show, nor was he accustomed to working with somebody like myself and the people that we had on the program. So it just didn't work. It was a mutual
decision. Okay.
And you got to remember, Tom, that was the old kind of network.
Yeah, now
things are much different now. So we went on the air. I mean, literally, we sat down. We were cued by the floor managers, and we were on the air every day for 90 minutes. Not for very long, but just to fill it up, we were too dumb to know any different. So maybe if you enjoy that kind of video mayhem, it might have been more interesting to watch.
We are with David Letterman of Late Night with David Letterman on NBC. His 8th anniversary show is on the air a week from tonight, the first...
Can you get a copy of that Pat Sajak tribute you did, Tom?
Yes, you can,
okay,
Dave.
Great.
Yes.
Merkel Press handling that?
Lion Records back in your neck of the woods, Washington, D.C., 450 for the complete cassette.
It needs a little music, but it was lovely.
Thank you.
And I'm sure he and his next of kin will appreciate it.
We will continue with David Letterman and eventually some of you on the toll-free exchange. More on the network of the future as compared with the old network.
Yeah, that's right.
After a station, turn his mic off. After a station break. We are back with David Letterman, who'll be on the air. By the way, are you doing any new shows for the next 2 weeks, or are you just in repeat?
Going back to work Monday. Back to work Monday.
In Los Angeles or New York?
New York City. America craves entertainment. I'm the man to fill that void.
Who told you that?
Oh, my.
I watched your show last night, and they ran Robin Williams last night.
It's Hal Gurney week, all week long.
Okay, yeah, I know. Hal
had a tribute to Hal Gurney.
Yeah, the Frozen
our
Potatoes.
Director, right.
And the night before, they did the one where you go into the control room, and the whole control room is filled with snow and ice.
That's right.
And a friend of mine said, how could they possibly go on the air because the control room is filled with ice and snow and there's no TD? I said, because they pre-taped it.
Right.
Yeah, see, I know these things because
that's the kind of we need.
I remember the network of the past.
That's right.
How is the network of the future different? How is it different there today?
Oh, Tom, it's a wonderland. Deep pile carpeting up to your knees. It's hot and cold champagne in the faucets. It's I don't know. It's nice. I'm happy there. I've liked working for NBC. I've enjoyed being at NBC.
Do you get any feedback at all when you kid GE and you used to kid RCA?
Well, let me tell you something. Let me give you an idea.
And I'll tell you what steamed me, pal. I was in New York 2 weeks ago, and I go past the building, 30 Rock, and it says the GE building.
Well, they changed it, yeah.
Well, that was
changed
stupid.
It from the RCA building, yeah. But give me
Don't you think it was stupid, Dave?
I think I was sad that it became something other than what I had always known it, yeah. But let me give you an indication about these people. When General Electric took over NBC a couple of years ago, I guess it was, and we didn't know much about them as a corporate entity, but just that they were a huge multinational global economic power responsible for maybe half the GNP of this country, whatever. And now I'm in an area where I don't really know what I'm saying. But, so we started making fun of them just because we felt like we could make fun of them. And there's this Jack Welch. Welch? Does that name ring a bell?
I have no idea.
Yeah. And then Robert C. Wright. And these are high-placed...
Now, that name rings a bell.
High-placed officials in NBC and also General Electric. And we would make fun of them, and we would say ugly, awful, unkind things about them. Not as bad as you said about Pat Sajak, but in that arena. And we had our big anniversary party, and this was 2 years ago, and Jack Welch comes running up to me with a big fruit basket, and he shoves the fruit basket in my arms, and he shakes my hand, and he says, "Congratulations, keep making those jokes about us." So I said to myself, boy, these guys are dimmer bulbs than any of us knew.
In watching some of the reruns this week, I wonder how you feel when you see yourself with a lot more hair than you have. You know, and I had the same thing, my friend, when I was there and they ran me with the red hair in 1974.
Yeah.
You say, geez, I wish we wouldn't run any of these old shows anymore.
Yeah, it makes me uneasy, and I'm just wondering now, after about 4 or 5 years, I finally got the feeling that if I just didn't do anything to my hair, at least maybe the criticism of it would lessen. And so I look at myself now and I think, well, that's within the realm of acceptability for a mammal. And So I wonder now if I look 5 years from now at the hair I currently have and also be reviled by it. I don't have any hair answers. I thought the secret to show business was a good conditioner. But it's more than that, and I don't know what it is.
When I lived in Philadelphia, I thought I had found God's answer when they gave me Tame Cream Rinse.
Yeah,
and that wasn't it.
No. And then you always run into people who have a million different theories, and if you over cream rinse, well, then you're screwed, pal.
Don't you hate guys that come out of the ocean, Dave, and their hair is perfect? You know what I mean? It's all perfect in the back. It's all perfect around their ears. It's all perfect around their forehead.
Yeah. What exactly are these perfect guys doing in the ocean is what I want to know.
We all are looking for different things in life, Dave. You worked at a television station in
Man alive, have I got a cold coming on or what? It'd be a help if there was some kind of switch here I could hit whenever I had to do this, because...
It's funny you mentioned that, Dave, but there's a little cough button right there in front of you, and if you push that...
This is classic comedy, isn't it, Tom?
The days at WLWI...
WLWI, Indianapolis, Indiana, the Avco Broadcasting Corporation.
Well, it was Crosley, too, wasn't it?
It began as Crosley, and then Avco took it over from Crosley. And I think Crosley was a revered broadcasting pioneer. They actually had their own line of televisions and radios, I believe.
That's correct.
And, as you well know, operated kind of a powerhouse regional radio and television network.
In Cincinnati.
Now,
when you worked at WLWI...
Yes.
Did they tout to you that Ruth Lyons was the big hero of all time? Because I worked at WLWA, which was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
We were told that Ruth Lyons and the 50-50 Club, that if you ever were going to do any kind of a show, this is the one on which you should model your television show.
Well, they didn't need to tout that to me because I knew it firsthand. Because as a kid growing up, I would walk to school and come home for lunch, which was one of the nice things about walking to and from school, although, truth be told, it was in the next state, and really quite a walk. And I would come home for lunch, and we had the new TV, and we would turn it on while we ate our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and when I say we, I mean me and Mom, and there would be Ruth Lyons. And even as a kid, I was captivated by it. This woman was charismatic, was magnetic, was interesting, was cranky, was irascible, opinionated, and she generated a loyal, inveterate following.
And one day, the clock began ticking for her.
Good Lord. God have mercy on her soul.
We are with David Letterman. His anniversary program, 8 years with NBC now in the late 9 time period, will be on the air a week from tonight, the 1st of February at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 Central. I'm T.S., and this is the Thursday Night Radio Show. After news headlines, a word from your local station. We're coming right back. Thanks for listening, everybody. Tomorrow night, hear Barry White and the Love Unlimited Orchestra in this time period on all of these stations. Tonight, David Letterman from Late Night, whose anniversary program will be on the air a week from tonight. Now, this is already...
not really a daiquiri, by the way. I asked for a daiquiri, all right? There's no ice in this. I'm sorry.
God, if you could get this funny stuff on the television, you'd go forever, you know? When you and I started doing this, I don't know what they paid you at your first job. Mine was $2 an hour, or $1.75. Right. And I mean, all I ever wanted to do was cover the news. I think that your ambitions were probably different. But none of us ever thought in terms of millions of dollars or homes on the beach or fancy cars. I mean, it was just a way to make a dollar and a commitment to doing something.
Yeah.
Well, I guess yours was to do the weather or be an announcer.
Well, when I was in high school and long about your junior or senior year, you see people with slide rules, and you see people in the library a lot, and you see people with various brochures from college, and you see people who are beginning to consider what it is they might do to become a productive member of society. And this just scared the hell out of me because I had no inclination. I worked I had 2 jobs. I worked as delivered newspapers, and I worked in a supermarket, bagging groceries and stamping prices and stealing beer and stuff like that. And I enjoyed that. But one day it dawned on me, geez,
so did I. Which one did you work in?
I worked at an independent market in Indianapolis called the Atlas Supermarket.
I was at the A&P at 27th and Capitol.
I loved it. It was. I've never had a bad job in my life, but the supermarket job, the grocery store was great.
Remember the A&P coffees, Red Circle and 8 o'clock and Bocar, and Bocar was the one that was $2 a pound, right?
I don't know.
For the babes with the big ones, I always ground the expensive coffee for the low price.
Wait a minute. Let's hear this again. For the The babes with the big ones.
Big eyes.
Oh, I
Big-
see.
yeah, yeah.
The babes with the big ones. Tom Snyder poetry. Where were we?
Sure beats clock ticking, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you were working at the grocery
Yeah.
store, becoming...
And I loved it. And then I saw these people who were seriously considering, the rest of their lives. So I just thought, I took this class in high school, and we had to give speeches one day, and it came pretty easily to me. And I thought, geez, I wonder if there's a way, if I have any kind of aptitude for making up these silly little speeches in high school, that I could get paid for it. And turned out, sure, for several years I made my living going around to high schools giving speeches in English classes. No, that's not true. And then I thought, maybe I can get on the radio. I don't know in what capacity. I have no idea how you get on the radio.
Right.
It just seemed to me like magic. How the hell could you get on the radio? Yeah, because you could go home and you could turn it on, and there it would be all day if you wanted it, or early in the morning. My folks used to listen to it when we got up to find out the weather, and on and on and on. And I just thought, this is a miracle. But how you can't? Normal people can't get on the radio.
This is true. To this day.
That's right. And thank God for
it, right.
So that's when I started thinking about broadcasting, and all I ever really wanted to do in those days was to be, I thought, if I can get to work as an afternoon, like a drive-time disc jockey, at a 50,000-watt clear channel AM station, just boom all over like the Southeast, the Midwest, whatever, that would be great for me. And it still would be great for me, except there are no positions like that open anymore. AM radio is so odd and different now that that's when FM was the peculiar version of radio.
Remember when FM was all classical music and poetry reading, and nobody ever listened to it, but you could hear it under the bridge?
That's right. My first job was at an FM station. It was 10 watts. It was WBST, the college basketball, or the college campus station, and we carried the Texaco Metropolitan Opera every Sunday, and it was my job to hit it. And you could hear Milton Cross, if you listened to the program monitor, you could hear Milton Cross warming up to introduce the symphony.
Right.
And I thought, man, this is big time.
Big
and
time.
I never once got the opera on the air at the right time. I would always upcut Milton Cross.
I remember my first part-timer, part of our job at night, because I worked the night news shift, was to go out underneath the tower in the backyard of the radio station, and the dog was there, the station mascot. We'd have to feed the dog. So I go out there one August night. I'm 19 or 20 years old, Dave, and I hear some tee-heeing off to the right in the bushes. I look over, and here is the general manager and the executive secretary with the big ones, and I don't mean eyes, and they're doing it out there.
No.
And I thought to myself, this could be a great business to be around. We will continue with David Letterman, and eventually some of you on the toll-free lines, which are opening now at 1-800-248-0852. That is 1-800-248-0852. Back with Dave and T.S. We are back. My guest is David
lighters.
Well, send you lighters. God, you smoke a lot of.
Are they going to be like the Bic lighters or the
No, I
deals,
left one for you last time I was in New York.
And then they round the corner and they say, my God, you have a bathroom, a shower, a sink, a mirror, everything. And I said, well, I can't really take credit for that. I said, that was Mr. Snyder's.
Snyder got it ready for you.
And I said, sometimes late at night, if you're very, very quiet, you can still hear Tom in there showering.
Wrong. You want to hear a funny story about that? You know, when Carson became big at NBC...
I'm sorry, Mr. Carson?
Mr. Carson to you, Carson to me, Johnny. He had a shower on the 7th floor there in what is now the commissary area.
Right.
Now Hugh Downs began doing the Today Show and Concentration and all kinds of stuff. And his contract came up, and Hugh wanted his own shower. So this is how dumb it gets, okay? Downs sends a guy into Carson's shower at night to measure it, to make certain that when they lay out his shower, which used to be where the Today Show offices are over the skating rink, that Downs' shower was 1 inch bigger at least all the way around than Carson's.
Sure. Well, I must say,
in 1974, pal, I sent a guy to Hugh Downs' shower.
Had it measured?
You bet.
There you go. So I have the biggest shower
of all.
You've got
the biggest shower of them all.
Thank you very much. But I just wanted to say, I think that for people on television, Hugh Downs is very well groomed.
No question.
Yeah. I think his hygiene is impeccable.
No question. Anything else about Hugh?
No.
Good. Could you put the earphones on?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you. Here's Donna in Chicago. Hi, Donna. You're on the air with David Lutz.
Guys.
Hi.
Hello, Donna. How are you?
I feel a little bit related here.
Related to whom?
Summers in Beech Grove.
I'm sorry?
I used to spend my summers in Beech Grove.
Yeah, I worked at a radio station, I think, near Beech Grove, Indiana.
I think you were the guy that I used to see at the drive-in.
Oh, yeah? What was he doing there? Was this a movie drive-in or like where you go for ice cream?
Oh, no, like a drive-in.
And what did he have? What kind of a convertible did Dave have?
I think it was a Mustang.
Oh, yeah? And was the babe a blonde or brunette?
A blonde.
Okay.
Could somebody just get me like a mimosa? There are no daiquiris left, just a mimosa. Room temp is fine. Thanks for calling, Donna. None of what you say rings a bell with me, but I know you must be pleased to have a phone.
Now, I also have a daughter who just started out as an associate producer for NBC News in Peoria.
Oh, good.
Okay,
and what's great about that is that 8 months from now she'll be hosting the Today Show.
Very likely. Thank you, Donna. Have a nice evening and a happy New Year.
Dave, I don't tell you how to do yours, pal.
No.
Was there a question, Donna?
Yes,
Donna's
there
making me a
is,
little
Dave.
jumpy here with these vague
How
references I don't
did
understand.
the top 10 list ever get started? We love it.
I think that was a creation of one of our writers, and I believe his name is and was Randy Cohen. And if I'm incorrect, I apologize to whomever I may have overlooked, but I believe it was his idea.
Okay, Donna, thank you for joining us. Here is Mark in Palm Springs, California.
Goodbye,
Hello.
Donna. I guess this answers the question, are these calls screened?
Mark, Mark from Palm Springs. Hello.
Right, and it sounds like if you put me on, the calls are not very screened. I'm curious, Dave, I've actually seen your show in person a couple of times.
Well, let me point out something right here. You know, there are no refunds.
Well, I wasn't asking for one.
Okay.
Don't worry. I'm wondering, over 8 years, what the turnover has been like on your staff, and whether or not the turnover has any kind of tangible impact on the product or lack thereof that you put on the air.
Well, I'm the kind of person...
And, of course, you should know that the producer of the show, an old friend of mine, Bob Morton, is standing in our control room right now, holding onto his tie, making believe he's Rodney Dangerfield and hoping for dear life.
We were very happy...
that the clock is not ticking for him.
Brother, the clock.
Yeah.
No, I would think, I believe...
Be glad I don't do the sands of time. Get it? The sands of time? Go ahead, Dave. You'll talk.
I think that you will find, although I don't have statistics to back this up, that the turnover has not been what you would expect it to be, and I like to have the same people with me for as long as they're willing to put up with me. I just feel more comfortable with that, and the people on the staff have become very good friends of mine, whether they know it or not.
Does putting them on the air have anything to do with it?
I enjoy doing that, and that was a function of the old morning show that Tom alluded to earlier. We just didn't have the money to go out and hire a lot of people who would come in and do these little things for us, so we just started using the staff members, and now they do it and they get a little payment, the after minimum or whatever, and so I enjoy doing that.
Well, nice to talk to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Nice talking with you.
What a great caller, huh? Carl in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Hello.
Hi, Tom and Dave.
Hi.
We're very proud of our hometown, Lebanon, PA, and we were wondering if you would consider moving the home office from Oklahoma City to Lebanon.
I'll do it Tuesday. Lebanon, Pennsylvania. The home office is now officially there.
Thank you. One other question. Igor from the Tass newspaper, would you tell the story about the starting the rumor with the treated wheat?
The treated wheat. I think you're talking about something. We created a rumor, and then we wanted to call somebody at Tass to get it out onto the streets.
Right.
And the rumor had something to do with the wheat supply being treated or tainted, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's just about all I remember from this episode.
You haven't had any contact with Igor then?
Now, what do? We called Igor, or he
called Igor, and you told him that the treated wheat would turn the urine purple.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Again, ladies and gentlemen, classic comedy. Thank you very much, sir, for calling that to the attention of the American listening public.
This is what goes on.
That's right.
In my absence.
You know, this show has won awards, by the way. It's urine stuff. You just can't beat it.
I saw you the other night. You were calling some guy, I believe back in Oklahoma, and it was an encore rerun. And this guy was to spread the rumor at his place of employment the next morning that Peter Jennings and Dan Rather were getting married. Remember that?
Oh, that's right. This is a very old show, yeah. The rumor was that Peter Jennings and Dan Rather had been married in Mexico.
South America.
Oh,
right.
South America, yeah.
Now, I thought to myself, as you're calling this guy, and you say, you know, Biff, can I have your permission to put you on the air? Oh, I'm thinking, I wonder if Dave is saying, why am I doing this?
Yes, of course. Yes, pretty much all the time. That thought is racing through my head. Yeah.
And are you also thinking, what happens if this guy says, no, I don't want to put you on the air? Mm-hmm. Then what do you do?
Well, then you don't know. You hope that you can come up with something. See, it's one thing if the studio audience was not sitting there, kind of breathing down your face, sort of expecting to be entertained, your thought process would be different. But since they are there and you're kind of at battle ready for 60 minutes,
Yep.
you end up doing things and perhaps making choices that under other conditions you might not make. And that therein is the area that you might reconsider on the drive home.
Let me tell you what I used to worry about. I don't know if you ever think about this, but I would always think, please God, if we'd had done a show, I can't even talk anymore. One night we blew up a car with what's-her-face.
Right,
Yeah,
the
plasmatics.
Right.
And one night we shot goldfish through the air. And on those nights...
Goldfish through the air?
Yeah. And on those nights on the drive home, you say, please, God, don't let the Pope die tonight while we're on the air. You know, where NBC News interrupts it. I'm serious, and you think, Mike, if we've done something really stupid, as we all have done, this is not the night for an invasion of Panama interrupting the show, or the Pope dying,
I see.
Or a plane crash.
Yeah, so you look doubly frivolous when they come back to you.
Exactly right. You come back and you're...
But, you know, we have done shows on occasion where we go back into the dressing room after the program, after the broadcast, and they're carrying out... Show. They're carrying out the dead and the wounded, and the producer and I, Robert Morton, will be talking about it. And some nights we think, well, geez, maybe Canada will go to war with somebody, and we'll just be preempted right out of the lineup. So America doesn't have to see what our little untidiness was.
Yeah, the problem is there's always somebody in the loop somewhere that says, to hell with them, put it on anyway. That's the guy you got to watch out for. We will continue with David Letterman. His anniversary show is on the air a week from tonight. It's on at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central on the NBC television network. Tomorrow night, hear Barry White and the Love Unlimited Orchestra in this time period on all of these stations. And after these messages, we're coming right. What a great idea. We only have 17% of the population now in federal employment. Let's get more people on the federal payroll. Here's Larry and
Tom, let me just say one thing. Do you mind? If my mom is listening, I would just like to say hi to her. She's the equipment manager for the Buffalo Sabres, and they got a really nasty road trip coming up. So, Mom, good luck. Take care of yourself.
Larry in Champaign.
They go north, they go up into Canada, the Nordiques.
Champaign, Illinois.
Canadians.
Hello.
Maple Leafs. Hello.
Hello, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a question. Did you ever work with Bob Gregory in Indianapolis?
I certainly did. He was quite a guy, and I believe still is quite a guy. He was the weatherman. He was came from New York. I believe he worked at a station in, I'm going to guess here, Albany. And then he became the weatherman at Channel 13 in Indianapolis, and a really solid broadcaster and a very nice guy.
Yeah, I got to know his son. His son was a weatherman here in Channel 3 in Champaign.
Oh, is that right? See, now, when I left there, his son was, he had two kids, as I recall, and one was playing teenage tennis or something. He was like 13 years old.
Kevin, he was a tennis player at Purdue, and then he got his degree in communications, and now he's back in Indianapolis, and he's working right across the street from his dad.
Is that right?
Yeah. And
it's just amazing when you hear something like that.
To waste time, you used to take a masking tape, just make a big ball out of it.
Right.
In the control room.
Right.
Is there any truth to that?
That's absolutely true. I was a booth announcer, and it's just what it says. You sit in a very small booth, and you wait to be cued to make an announcement or read a 10-second public service announcement, like for the Red Cross or whatever, or station identification. And
like do a station ID.
This is WLWI, Channel 13, Indianapolis, Indiana. Now stay tuned for Eyewitness News with John Lindsay and the Eyewitness News team next. And then, so you do this all day, and it drives you nuts, and you're full of coffee, and you got nothing to do, so you start making things. And I used to make, out of masking tape and old pages of copy, huge balls. I would try and make as large a ball as I could, about the size of a beach ball. And then, of course, late at night, you would find a game that the ball would be suitable to use for. That's how I spent a lot of my time.
And then I had one other question for you. When you guys were out in...
It's no longer, do you mind if I ask one more? It's now I have one more. Go ahead, Larry.
Tom, come on, relax. Tom, back off, Tom. Get a hold of yourself.
When you guys were in Las Vegas...
Yes, sir.
That individual that was helping, you guys were helping him find his brother...
Yeah.
Is that true, too?
Yes, that's absolutely true. That was we were spending the day with Tony Roy, who was an Elvis impersonator, and we were in downtown Las Vegas in front of one of the hotels, and Tony Roy was showing us around where to get the best shrimp cocktail, and a guy wandered up, and his name was James Baggett, James T. Baggett, and he was from somewhere in Alabama, and he had been all over the world, and he had been and I don't mean anything negative by this, although what other connotation does the word drifter have? A drifter in the most positive sense possible.
He's a bum.
and he had been a merchant marine, and he was in fact in Las Vegas looking for his brother, and a very nice man, but I think he would agree with the assessment that he was down on his luck, and he spent the day with us.
when you were the booth announcer that said, and now here is so-and-so and the Eyewitness News team.
Right.
And then for a half an hour, you did nothing but watch the Eyewitness News team do the reporting.
That's right. And log commercials. I don't even think you keep the log anymore.
You didn't want to be in the booth. You wanted to be out in front of the camera, didn't you?
Of course I did, yeah. And I got to be, as the replacement announcer, you would become like the weekend weatherman, or you would do the early morning newscast. And then gradually, depending on who was on vacation, you got to do everything in the station.
So you were in it long before there was such a thing as an anchorman and a reporter and a weather specialist. We were all announcers when I was in.
That's right. That's right. It was just starting to take on that structure, because in those days, the pattern, the example for a modern news team was Channel 7 in New York. The happy talk news format was just beginning to work its way west.
True.
And prior to that, nobody paid any attention to it. It was just guys in suits reading copy at some kind of cardboard news desk. So it was a little easier to let a college geek in there like myself.
But did you ever get to do the commercials during the movie, the morning matinee or the afternoon matinee?
Yeah, I did virtually anything anybody would ever imagine you could do at a local TV.
Now, when I worked at WLWA, these are both Avco Crosley stations.
Right.
We had to punch a clock. Did you have a time clock at your station?
Some did. I think because I was in a union, it was an after station when I was there, that I was not punching
Exempt.
a clock.
No, I'll tell you, we were after it, but even the head newscaster who did the 6 o'clock news, you had to come in and punch your time card.
Yeah, I remember there was a time clock at the back door where people came in.
That's right.
I do not have specific memories of punching a clock.
I remember that the way you knew.
Yeah.
If your time was up at WLWA, your time card was not in the rack. And when you turned around to see where it was, the guy was there saying, "Thank you very much for flying Lufthansa."
That's
that was the end of your time.
And once again, the clock was ticking.
Can you hear it ticking now?
Yes,
the music.
I can.
My friend, I thank you for coming in, and I thank you for your many kindnesses to me on your show, and I wish you well, and I hope that your anniversary program is a big hit. I'll be amongst your cheering fans a week from tonight. Thank you
very much.
My
Very
pleasure.
kind of you.
David Letterman, a week from tonight on NBC and the 8th anniversary show. I'm T.S., and this is the Thursday Night Radio Gig. Thanks for listening, friends.